Damn it, I said to myself. That was foolish and half-witted to act prematurely and pull the trigger, with only one target exposing himself. I should have waited for more of the enemy to reveal themselves. The transformation from cable guy to Terminator was becoming more effortless with each eradication I executed. I knew there were at least two more homicidal henchmen holed up inside, with a strong possibility of more. I carefully peered out of the open window and promptly saw the muzzle flash of a shotgun light up a downstairs neighboring window. Seconds later, the reciprocating rounds of buckshot shattered the glass above me as serrated shards rained down on my exposed neck. More gunfire erupted and the other bedroom window imploded. The bombardment began penetrating the drywall as slabs and squares of sheetrock plunged to the ground. I was under heavy and heart-rending distress as the barrage of bullets continued to forcibly impact and smash into the upstairs bedroom. They could easily continue to lay down suppressor fire and send in an opportune sadistic slayer to sweep the house and eventually eliminate me as I took cover from the onslaught. I had to move and get out of this hellhole. I carefully began to army crawl, staying as low to the floor as possible and making my way to the hallway as the concentrated artillery of gunfire continued to puncture the drywall. The rays of the setting sun were now radiating through the gaping holes of plasterboard. It was imperative I got my eyes on the stairwell to be able to repel any kind of attack if the adversary decided to breach the exterior and send in some savage maniac hell-bent on slaughtering me. Once I was out of the line of fire, they would be stupidly wasting valuable rounds of ammunition on an empty and ravaged bedroom. Those who ran out of bullets first in Armageddon were guaranteed to be vanquished and annihilated soon after. Slithering to the top of the stairs, I reached for my walkie and made a desperate call for help. "I'm pinned down and I'm taking heavy fire," I called out. Blake must have heard the despair and agony in my voice because he immediately responded back and asked for my location. "I'm sheltered in location 6, the chocolate brown house, and sustaining a storm of gunshots from location 7, directly across the street. At least 2 shooters, possibly more in there. I'm concerned if they don't shoot me out, they may try burning me out or just storming the structure," I said. "I'm on my way," Blake yelled. "Hang in there. Help is coming." The barrage of bullets continued as I slid down the stairs, making my way to the first floor. Squirming on my belly, I tried to evade the puddles of urine and piles of feces that encrusted the carpet and blanketed the once pristine walls, being mindful to stay low and out of the line of detrimental sniping. Just as quickly as the onslaught and shelling had started, the assault of metal projectiles flying viciously through the air ceased. Seconds seemed like minutes. Surely they weren't out of ammunition, I said to myself. They had to be regrouping and possibly getting ready to breach the exterior of the ravaged and war-torn house. The sun that once brought our first above-average temperatures was quickly setting to the west. The last thing I wanted was for this dogfight to continue into the darkness of doomsday. I needed to draw them out in hopes Blake was able to sight the scoundrels in the crosshairs of his scope and deliver a succession of death-dealing trigger pulls. Scanning the soiled and putrid living room, my eyes dialed in on Mason's head that rested in his own pool of blood. The goon I had taken out upon making entry through the garage would be the perfect decoy. Blake's voice called out over the walkie. "I've got eyes on your location and the perpetrators. You still alive and kicking?" he asked. "I'm no worse for wear," I answered. "You want me to engage on the target, lay down some cover fire, and give you a chance to escape out the back?" he questioned. "Negative, bud. Hold tight and be ready. I'm going to draw them out. Once they're out in the road and far enough away from being able to retreat back into the protection and cover of the house, we execute and eliminate." "How do you plan on drawing them out?" Blake asked. "I've got a plan. You just be within close enough range to blow a hole in some heads." Once you engage, I'll be right behind you, mowing them down from the downstairs window. Copy that, Blake uttered. I quickly and carefully began crawling my way towards the kitchen where the slaughtered carcass was situated. I grabbed both of his lifeless arms as his soulless eyes stared back at me while dragging him back into the living room. My plan was to prop the corpse up in the window and mimic a few body movements until the enemy across the street took notice and dialed in on him with a hail of gunfire, thinking they had finally eradicated me and believing it safe to exit the safety and sanctuary of four walls and a roof. Once they revealed themselves, first Blake, then I, could obliterate the opposition, bringing an end to this deadly dystopian ordeal. Without the protection of the body armor, I'm not sure I would have had the courage to pull off such a precarious ploy. I removed my winter hat and sacrificed my bandana to conceal and cover his crimson-red blood-splattered face. Physically exhausted from the trials and tribulations of Teotihuacan, it took all of my strength and brawn to lift the defunct corpse up. Once I got the stiff, cold body vertical, I turned and supported it with my back, trying my best to keep the 200 pounds upright and balanced in front of the window. It only took a matter of seconds, and the sound of a single discharge echoed out from the house across the street. The window that had the cadaver's head balancing against it exploded upon impact, freeing me from the burden of propping it up, and the upper body collapsed and slumped forward. The head was left draping out of the hole that was moments ago a window. Would they take the bait I set for them? I had a firm grip on my rifle, and I sat against the wall. My eyes were closed, and I listened intently for any sign of their front door creeping open and the merciless monsters stepping out and exposing themselves to Blake. Unbeknownst to me, he was set up and concealed in the tree line adjacent to my location. The long, low sound of the neighboring door creaked on its hinges and began to swing ajar. It worked, I said silently to myself. Before I could finish my thought, cocky and arrogant voices began celebrating what they thought was an end to the bloodshed that had played out over the past 20 minutes. "What a shot!" one of the boisterous bandits shouted out. "Dude, you drilled him right in the face. He's half hanging out the window like a limp whiskey dick," another voice roared out. "Clear the house and find Mason," a third voice from inside the dwelling demanded. "Shit," I whispered. "There's at least one more holed up inside." With two marauders fast approaching, we had no choice but to engage in a firefight and deal with what was left inside after. Right on cue, as they lumbered through the snow to cross the road, a coordinated succession of gunshots roared out from the tree line. Before I could even jump to my feet and take position in the blown-out window, Blake had already assassinated both threats. The two bodies were swallowed up and now submerged in the substantial snowpack. "Make sure they're expired," I yelled out of the window to my partner in the apocalypse. "I've got eyes on the house and will lay down cover fire." While Blake confirmed that the pair had indeed perished, I emptied the remaining 19 rounds of my magazine into the threatening abode, guaranteeing his safety. Two discharges from his sidearm at point-blank range assured that the duo were in fact dead. "Cover me! I'm coming out," I commanded. Finally free from the residence of retribution, the two of us turned our attention to the two-story colonial that I had just shredded with hot lead. I motioned for him to meet me on the west side of the house where the attached garage was located. "We've taken out 6 of these scumbags already. There can't be many more left," I whispered. "With any luck, there's only one isolated and terrified rover remaining inside." "Only one way to know for sure," Blake said. "We're going in to conduct a search and slaughter operation. I'll enter in through the rear. You can access through the front. You take the upstairs, I'll take the downstairs," Blake suggested. "We'll clear each room until we find and eliminate every threat that's holed up in there." "Let's roll, brother. We don't have much sunlight left," I replied, and we both set off in opposite directions. I waited to hear the thunderous crash of him kicking in the back door to the garage that would draw any attention away from the shattered front downstairs window I was going to gain access through. I carefully entered with the barrel of my rifle leading the way. The living room was assembled with a stockpile of non-perishable supplies. The group had most certainly looted from the neighboring houses. They were systematically ransacking and pillaging homes and laying waste to whoever they stumbled across. It was critical that Blake and I put an end to this demonic threat. After all, they were less than a day, maybe just mere hours from coming across our location when Blake and Jennifer encountered the first fiendish freak. Cases of water, canned goods, boxes of cereal, pasta, and liquor littered the living room floor. They had amassed quite the collection and had left behind a trail of devastation, blood, and death. With my back to the wall and darkness now setting in outside, I peered around the corner to make sure the stairs were clear, as Blake had now safely gained access from the garage into the kitchen. We were both now inside, ready to conduct, complete, and execute our mission. My head was on a swivel as I scaled the stairs. With each step, my heart rate increased as my nerves raced, and I fought off the trembles of my body. Once at the top of the stairs, I began traversing the corner, using a technique often referred to as slicing the pie. With my body as close to the wall as possible without scraping up against it and making any reckless noise, I made sure to stay at least one arm's length away from the corner that I assumed led to a bedroom on the left. I didn't want my firearm sticking out in the doorway so it could be easily manipulated and taken from me. I took a significant pivot point, keeping in mind the further I step away from the wall, the more open space in the bedroom I'll have my eyes on. Once I had a visual on the first bedroom, I paused and scanned the slice of pie. Between each step I took, I was scanning from floor at the corner all the way to the ceiling, scanning each and every slice in a vertical motion, always leaning slightly towards the direction I was stepping with a firm two-handed grip on my rifle. I was cognizant to never let my feet cross and put me in a very unstable position if something or someone was to strike me, or I was forced to shoot mid-stride. My accuracy and balance would be compromised. Instead, I moved my lead foot forward, then followed with my trailing foot. Wherever my eyes looked, the barrel of my weapon pointed, allowing me to react more quickly than if I had it in a low ready position. The bedroom and closet were both clear, but I couldn't help but notice the homemade shackles of rope that was tied to the bedpost. More of the same brutality and sexual assaults had been played out in this ungodly house of horrors. It was becoming an all too common act of sadistic savagery in SHTF. Not wanting to give away my position, I kept the light on my gun off and relied on my other senses as I cleared the bathroom and approached the two remaining bedrooms at the opposite end of the hallway. Although they were both left in disarray and disorder, they were both unoccupied and empty. Upon exiting the master bedroom, the ear-piercing and deafening sound of a single gunshot rumbled from the downstairs and echoed off the walls, sending panic and trepidation throughout my body.